Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In these few minutes, I wanted to share with you an overlooked fundamental principle of our religion. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ وَالْأَرْحَامِ. Have taqwa of Allah, in whose name you ask each other for things. And then he adds وَالْأَرْحَامَ, which actually means have taqwa, meaning be cautious, be aware of, have a sense of awe towards the wombs. Now, what in the world does that mean? That means that anything that has to do with the womb, we have to have respect for. That is why we have such great respect in Islam for our mothers and all of our family relationships. But the relationship of the womb began with marriage, like Adam alayhi salam. That's why the beginning of this ayah is Ya ayyuhan nas ittaqu rabbakum alladhi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida. Have taqwa of your master who created you from a single nafs, wa khalaqa minha zawjaha, and he created a spouse from that same nafs. So the ayah actually began talking about marriage, and that's why this ayah is used in the khutbah of marriage by the Prophet ﷺ, and pretty much any nikah you attend, you'll hear this ayah being recited. So the point I wanted to highlight is that relationship is sacred. The relationship between a husband and wife is sacred. It's something very powerful. Actually, Allah says, وَأَخَذْنَا مِنْكُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. Powerful language in the same surah. These women have taken from you, he's talking to the husbands, they have taken from you a very, very heavy, serious, strong contract. Right? And it's incredible language because you think that the control in marriage is entirely in the hands of men, right? So the men have signed on to marry these women. But actually, أخذنا, not أخذتم منكن, that you took a contract from them. No, they have taken a contract from you. They have made you liable. And what that means is that they were the ones making the decision. أخذنا منكم ميثاقا غليظا suggests that they had a direct hand in choosing you as a husband, and then even in the negotiations of the mahar and all of the terms of your contract, meaning the marriage contract. I bring this up because in many Muslim cultures, unfortunately, this principle of giving women the choice to marry who they want is being stripped from them. Parents think that they know best, and their children don't know anything. So I'm going to get my daughter to marry whoever I think is right for her. Whether she likes this person or not, if she says no, then she's being stupid. Then if I just yell at her enough and embarrass her enough, then she'll just cave in because she doesn't understand. And this idea of not giving our daughters the ability to make that decision for themselves, or think about it at least for themselves, without the psychological pressures that we unduly put on them. Some of our elders do this, and it's a very common practice, especially in the Indo-Pak subcontinent and other places in the Muslim world. A proposal comes through and they say, well, you're so fat and you're so ugly and you're so short. Who's going to marry you anyway? This guy came along. At least you're lucky to even have a proposal. Just marry him and get it over with. Get off of our show. And it's not really that they care about her happiness. A lot of times it makes it seem like they just want to get rid of her because it's a burden on their shoulders that they have this unmarried daughter and she's getting older and older and older, right? So just anything that comes along, let's just meet certain superficial requirements and get her married off, And this has become a crisis situation. Many young women are getting married to men that they don't want to marry. And sometimes vice versa. Even men are being forced to marry their cousin or somebody from back home, or somebody that they're not interested in marrying. And a lot of these people come to me and they talk to me about their problems. They email me. I find out about this in social media. And you guys know many, many cases of this kind of thing. Some of you sisters that are listening to this, your parents are probably pressuring you to get married to people that you're not interested in. And you're like, if I speak out, is it disrespectful? Because Islam gives so many rights to parents, right? So is it even disrespectful for me to speak up? So in this brief video, even though this video is not going to solve the problem, I just want to highlight something. I want to address something first of all to the young people who are being pressured into getting married. I just want to say just a couple of things to you guys. It's not the solution to all of your problems, but at least I'll highlight some things. First and foremost, the relationship you're getting into, you don't go into a marriage thinking you're going to get divorced. You go into a marriage because this is going to be the next half of your life. This is a lifelong commitment. This is the next 50, 60 years of your life. It's not a light decision. A lot of times all you think about is the marriage ceremony, the party, making your parents happy. That's right now. What about 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now? Because this one decision decides the direction of the rest of your life. So if there was one time where you speak out and say your opinion and take a stand, with all due respect, this is the time. You're not being disrespectful. This is a right Allah gave you. This is a serious decision, which has to do with your life, not your parents' life more than it has to do with yours. Of course, you should be making a wise decision on who you marry and what kind of person they should be, and your parents should have a say in that. But if your parents don't have exclusive say, the dominant say is actually yours. And subhanAllah, and even the ayah, وَأَخَذْنَا مِنْكُمْ, they've taken from you. The women have taken from you. Allah didn't even mention their walis. He mentioned the women themselves. You are going to be, the sisters I'm talking to now, you have to be comfortable with the person you're marrying. Of course, if you come from a conservative family and a religiously observing family, you don't go out and party. You don't go talk to men casually. You're not going to get to know the guy by going on a few dates before you decide. Of course, you're not going to be comfortable entirely with marriage because it's a new thing in your life, but at least you're going to have some level of comfort with the idea. You're going to be, okay, you know what, this seems like a good person. To my side, as best as I can find out within the realm of Sharia, this seems to be a good person. I think this is a good match for me. Allahu A'lam if it's the best match, and sometimes people get married and they get divorced. This even happened with Sahaba. But we do our due diligence, right? You have to be happy going in. You shouldn't be settling in a relationship going in. The same is true of guys. Guys, speak up. And, let your opinion be heard. That doesn't mean you're being disrespectful, unless you're being disrespectful in the way you say it. See, disrespect is not about what you say. A lot of times what you say is legitimate. It's your right. You have the right to say something. But how you choose to say it, the tone you choose to use, all of these things matter. So be wise in how you bring this up to your elders. To the elders, I'd like to say that if your children are 24, 25, even 22, 23 years old, they're way over adults. And if they come to you saying, I want to marry this girl, I want to marry this man, then first of all, and you're living in the West, let me add one more condition here. If you're living in the West, then try to understand something. They would not have brought this proposal up if they weren't serious. Second of all, they're not children anymore. You can call them children when they're 85 years old and you're 150. It won't matter. They're not children anymore. They're adults. And this is not a kid going to a toy shop saying, I want to buy that toy, but get me an Iron Man action figure. And so you just yell at them and say, no, that's not for you. Buy the Ninja Turtles instead. No. This is not the purchase of a toy. This is a life decision. And these young people, you should discuss this decision with them. But for a lot of you parents, when they bring up a proposal, you're like, no way. Are you kidding me? And it becomes a matter of pride that your child chose a person, not you. Look, you brought them into a Western society. They're mingling with men and women all the time. The fact that they may have found somebody, maybe not in the most acceptable means Islamically, but it's already happened. They already like somebody. They're already interested in marrying someone. And you shut them down and you say, no way, this will never happen. This is a matter of our pride. This is a matter of our religion. Well, there are so many other matters of your religion where you ignore to teach them properly, where you ignore to provide them a healthy environment. And now you're getting angry at them for, making a choice or even suggesting a choice. At least consider the choice. Become more open-minded about the possibilities. The world around you has changed. The way you got married, the way even, my parents got married is a different time. Those norms, those standards, cultural standards have changed. The world around us has changed, So we have to be open to the choices that our children are making. Look, if you're sending your son to college, you have enough trust in him to send him to college, to let him work in a non-Muslim society. If you're sending your daughter to school, and she's getting an education in a non-Muslim society, you trust her enough to send her out into a cruel, corrupt world, and to survive and uphold her values. So then you have to trust her enough with her decision. At least enough to consider her decision. Even if you don't like the choice at first, at least to consider that decision. So be a little more open-minded about this discussion and control the tempers. No, there's no need for overly dramatic language. There's no need for, oh my God, all of my dreams have shattered and you're no longer my son and all of this stuff. Just take it easy. Take it easy. Everybody needs to be able to say how they feel. In many Muslim cultures, parents don't open up. They only open up when it's too late. And children don't say anything because they're too afraid of what their parents might think. We need to change that culture. We need to have a culture of open, honest, and yet at the same time respectful communication. The last point I'd like to make is the principles of our religion of how men and women should interact. They're timeless principles. But social realities change. Our principles don't change. Social realities change. So the cultural values we've had all along, they may or may not apply anymore. The religious values apply, absolutely. But a lot of times what you think is religious actually isn't religious at all. It's just your cultural comfort zone. You're just comfortable doing things a certain way, and you think it worked for you, so it should work for your children, and it just may not be the case. So I pray that this at least becomes a healthy conversation inside the Muslim family that can lead to, inshallah, better decisions for ourselves, our sons, our daughters, and that they end up in happy marriages. I pray even that the way in which men and women come together and get to know each other is a halal way, is an acceptable way to Allah Azza wa Jal, and that they don't end up making decisions based on just raw emotions and just overexcitement. That Allah Azza wa Jal gives us maturity, calmness, coolness, and more than anything else, His blessings in making one of the most important decisions of our lives, half of our religion. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.